Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides with Schla. And I am going to try to have the input gain slightly lower, as I believe there in the in the previous recording I did listen to it. It sounded a little bit intense at times. Although I am getting a little bit worried because the gain's almost looking pretty low right now. I'm not really sure how I feel about things, but at least for now, we'll have more of a consistent understanding of how things are. I'm gonna have to raise the gain because I'm like not even seeing the green light turn on. So let me just. I think we'll just keep it here. I mean, it's kind of a shame because, like I said, I'm not really sure how things are. It's just at least now we're going to know for sure what there's going to be a consistent mic stand like situation going on the whole time. Yeah, I think I probably had it too quiet at first because even now it's not well there it did a little clip, but I think it's probably fine. I'm a little bit concerned though, but I can't. I guess I'm just gonna have to wait and hear it for myself. But it didn't really look that full before, so I'm not entirely sure, what to think about it. I again, the problem with this morning is that this morning there was a lot that wasn't finalized. Mainly the positioning of the microphone. It just wasn't figured out yet. So you have to keep that in mind. It was a lot of like all over the place kind of recording. So it really wasn't making any sense. Whereas now things should be more locked in terms of how I'm trying to position things and all that good stuff. So we'll see how it sounds. I'll probably tweak accordingly afterwards. I guess it could be a problem of just too much in general. It could just be my mouth is too close to the microphone or something. Um, that could absolutely be the case because it may just be too close. It may just be something where I'm not really able to handle, or the microphone is kind of getting overwhelmed by what's going on, and then it's kind of creating that noise. But the thing is, it's a tough call to make. I mean, I know having the mic further away from the face, it probably produces a better sound. I've kind of listened to it, and it kind of does. But the thing is, closer in proximity to the face, I have a few theories about its advantageous nature. And so its advantageous nature is just going to be that in general, not only, so you kind of have a problem when you're recording in a noisy environment like the road, where, when I'm in the car, you have to cut the bass frequencies because you have to. It really ruins kind of the lower tones in a voice. So honestly, I think if you have a female voice, that kind of lands better for car recording because most of the background noise rumble you can just cut out and it doesn't really impact your voice. And if you have a male voice that is, I mean, obviously not every man. I don't even know how deep my voice really is. I mean, I guess it's like kind of deep, but I wouldn't say my voice is, overly deep or anything too crazy. And so, but yeah, anyways, the whole point is the closer you are to the capsule, you're going to get a lift in terms of your deep like bass definition. And I think that it's probably just more favorable for car conditions. It probably is. And I'm not sure, but it's just my hypothesis. But I could end up completely changing my mind about this depending on how things end up sounding and how I feel about things. It could just be that it's not worth it. That just could be the case. It just all depends. We're still in the testing period. I'm not really sure what other tweaks I wanted to make, but I was thinking I was just going to lower it, but then when I lowered it, it seemed I didn't really like what it was looking like. I really was not super content with how it looked. I think the other thing I might want to do is adjust the noise gate just a touch. It sounds a bit unnatural the way we have such an abrupt cut into silence. Like I don't really know how much of a fan I am of it. It's good. I mean, it's good that when I stop talking, it obviously is cutting the excess background noise, which I think is overall a good thing. But at the same time, there is like a relevant point to be made that it loses some of the naturalness or maybe like the vibe of the recording. But I don't think I'd get too picky about it. I just think lowering the release a little bit. I just think it would sound a little less choppy to me. That's just I don't know because this is a lot of stuff that's going to take some fine tuning, and I think after the week is through, hopefully we will reach some kind of more like final metrics. But overall, pretty happy with how things turned out. I thought it could be sounding terrible, but this interface is amazing, and obviously the microphone is pretty great too. I honestly think it's not really living up to what I expected. I was really thinking this was going to be a super good microphone, and it's good, but I don't know. Like I'm not certain about how I like feel about it absolutely yet, but we'll see. I mean, time will tell. Actually, the more interesting thing I wanted to mention is that my bag is breaking. One of the pockets in my bag has basically broke, so the zipper won't shut anymore, and I have another bag, but it's kind of falling apart. So it's going to create like a bunch of specks all over the place because it's like whatever fake leather material at the bottom is breaking. So I really have to get a new backpack now, which is kind of annoying, but I think at the same time it could be just another like we're just kind of in this like having to spend a lot of money kind of thing and we're having to spend a lot of money um picking up a few odds and ends because like I said, I don't know that I would have thought to buy the new microphone if it wasn't for the fact that the other one started to have problems. So there's been like a lot of these little things that like they're kind of annoying, but it's almost like, yeah, I usually would be stubborn about these things, but it's like on the bright, like at first I'm getting like really annoyed. And I guess in the short term, it is kind of annoying. But in the long term, it's kind of nice because now maybe I could get a better bag. Like I could end up getting a bag that is better than the bag I had before. This current one that I'm still using. Like there could be one that is better for the things that I do. So I don't know. I think you have to look at things in different ways. You can't just like you can't get mad. I mean, especially in my case, like I just think I have no reason to be mad about a lot of like I still do. I'm definitely getting mad about the amount of times I'm saying like right now. Like, I'm picking it up. I'm not super happy about it because I told you guys I'm really trying to work on mastery, but I can tell just by the way I'm talking right now, I'm not really doing that. So, got a little bit of shame, but what can you do? It's going to take some getting used to this mic setup though. I do get pretty frazzled by like new routines and things like that. It does. It kind of gets to me. It kind of bothers me. But I'm sure eventually it'll become fairly natural to just get used to this as the standard recording procedure. Especially, I think the main reason why now it's so uncomfortable is because I know the settings are not really tweaked how I would want them to be. So it's a little bit upsetting to know that I'm talking, but I don't know, like, my words, I don't know how valuable they are. Trying to think of how to say this. I worded that weird. I don't feel compelled to say anything as valuable simply because I don't want it to be wasted on a recording apparatus that isn't that great. Although that being said, it's probably still an upgrade over the previous. Although I think there's some caveats with that, honestly. The thing about the previous recording setup is that at least with the previous, it sounded pretty natural. In this one, I'm concerned about the effects making things strange. That's what I'm concerned about. It makes things sound good, but a little bit too over the top. And for the vibe that the show is going through, I actually don't know if it was necessarily a problem that I had the mic that I had before, right? It just fit with the theme and everything. And I think, too, I forgot to even speak about it on the show, but I kind of realized that, now that I'm really nearing the end of the optimization journey, the equipment really just doesn't matter that much. I have fancier, better equipment than pretty much anybody's using right now. And I did so much research to optimize, and this truly should be probably the best microphone pair up with interface I could really do. And I have it, but again, the truth is there's plenty of YouTubers that don't even have a good quality mic and they get a ton of views. It's just how it works. I don't know, and they're able to have a career out of it and all that. So, and like I said, it's that whole concept of the microphone you use does add character to the recording. And there's almost a sterilization that occurs when it's so refined and perfect now that you're losing the background noise of the car. You're losing a lot of these features that gave what I was doing character. And I kind of questioned myself about that a little bit because I wasn't thinking about that. And it's possible that some people will complain about the change now. Of course, yeah, I could turn off the noise gate and that would solve that problem, but I just don't know. I don't know if what I'm trying to go for, if the hyper polished idea really suits what I'm talking about, if that makes sense. I'm not sure. But I think I'm probably just overthinking things. It's obviously a good thing overall to be having just such a good, clean record equipment. There might be some people who dislike it because it's a little bit crazier. But I think for the most part, for all intents and purposes, it's probably good. I'm going to feel weird until I really get a clear read on what's actually good or not. And so much was last minute. Like luckily I realized that I could use the fur cover that I had from the other mic because I think the plosive issue is a real issue with this microphone. I don't understand how it makes any sense because it sounds pretty bad. It does not sound good at all. So, and yeah, even with what I'm doing now, I don't know how good this is going to turn out. It could turn out not great. Like I don't. It's going to be the first recording where the entire recording, the microphone is just in a consistent position because first I was troubleshooting. It's like figuring out where I wanted the mic to go, stuff like that. Now I figured that out. But now we have to listen to how this sounds, which I don't even know if I'm going to feel like doing tonight. I'm probably going to feel like doing that tomorrow. So really, it's going to be like tonight and tomorrow morning's recordings will probably be the same. And it won't be until I would predict like Thursday, like Friday's recordings would probably have the adjusted settings. I don't even know if I'm going to get a chance to feel like changing them before then or really have much time to. So, but yeah, I guess it's exciting, but like I said, I kind of hope to get through this phase of it being like a weird thing. I need to get some more optimal cables for what I'm trying to do because the cables I have now are unnecessarily long and you just don't need a long cable for this kind of stuff. You just don't. It's the phone's right here, the interface is right there, and it just adds extra bulk to the setup. So I have an idea for what cable I want to use instead, but I even think past that I could probably look into a thinner cable for the XLR cable. That's not optimal. I'm just using the one that I had because I only had one. So it's a very long XLR cable, and I actually probably only need a 1 foot or something extremely small. So there's a lot of things to tweak. Even the phone that I use to record with could get a superior Android phone for my use case, but we are in the home stretch. There's not too much more to really get into or anything like that. Plus, it'd be good to have a backup phone because you never, as it is now, there's actually no backup. So before I had backups. If I forgot to charge a phone, something like that, it didn't really matter. Everything was going to be fine. I had like a bunch of other phones that could do the same thing, but this is obviously a more particular high-tech operation I'm running here. So there's only one phone that can actually pull it off. So the stakes are much higher. Before if I had an issue with the recording or the recording stopped, it didn't matter. I had other phones that I could just plug it in and do the same thing. So it's why it's probably worth it and why I'm like keeping the other microphones still in my bag, because in a worst case scenario, I don't want to just be out of luck. I'd still want to be able to record with a good mic like that. So, but yeah, in terms of the fit, in terms of how we're trying to do things here, it's we're still kind of figuring out. It's still trial and error, but I'm hoping that what I'm doing now is already pretty optimal, because if it is, then I'm going to be pretty happy, because this is probably more consistent than I was like with the other microphone. I kind of felt like there were consistency issues with it. In my opinion, it seemed like I couldn't really gauge, the distance it was from my mouth, bunch of other factors. It wasn't really a good setup. It probably was not getting super consistent recordings. If this works well, if I don't have to adjust this, I can keep it probably more consistent, because the microphone puffball is kind of up against my face. So it's like an additional contact point that I can kind of memorize and know what is good, So the other one did not have this. It was just floating out in the middle of nowhere. And so sometimes it would probably be closer, sometimes it would be further. I believe this mic will overall have a more consistent proximity to my mouth, which should result in more consistent audio sound as than I was getting out of the other one. The thing I guess I'm most frustrated about, which is something I want to do more research into, I guess, but my old one was an omnidirectional, and this one's a directional. And I'm going to be honest, it still doesn't. I'm not sure for certain, and I may be underselling this thing's capability. It's not a black and white comparison either, because, it's not an apples to apples comparison, because I have all the effects on this, and I haven't just done a raw recording with this one. So it's different, but at the same time, I guess it just doesn't seem like the whole it being directional or omnidirectional makes that much of a difference. It really seems like a microphone just cannot, like, it just picks up what it's. I just don't understand that. I guess I don't really get the physics behind it, why you couldn't have a microphone that only picks up, for example, like 4 feet in front of it, and then everything else is just dead silent. I guess that's just difficult to engineer, but I wish they could just do that, where it was just, a 6-inch radius, and anything beyond that, like, strict bubble, just wouldn't be heard. That's kind of an example of what I was thinking could be possible, because this mic is a directional, should be very good at background noise suppression, and yet I still kind of hear background noise. It's possible that it's a little bit better, but I don't really know for sure what's going on. But yeah, like I said, some of the things about this mic, they are throwing me off. It's a lot heavier, so you definitely notice that. And so when you go over bumps and things, it's very noticeable. The other one was extremely lightweight, so it just went on your head and then you just forgot about it. So kind of wonder too if I would ever look into different ones, because I just wasn't really thinking about that. But it's possible that I'm probably just going to be able to deal with it. I haven't really noticed it be too crazy of a problem now. It was just this morning when I didn't really have it fit to my head properly, And I even think as is now, it's not fitting my head properly as much as I would want it to. So I still think there's a lot of adjusting that can be made. I just really need to have time and pliers, basically. I need to have time and I need 2 pliers, and then I could try to get to work bending the frame to make it mold to my head better, and then I think that that issue should be less. But I think inevitably just the physics of it, if you have something that weighs more, it's gonna be less stable or more noticeably, like, shaky when you're going over bumps, and that's the nature of what this is, and it was just something that, I wasn't thinking about when I was getting it. I just wasn't really considering it for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but I just wasn't. But now in retrospect, I wish I did. But yeah, I can still tell it's like its grip on my face isn't perfect. So yeah, it's difficult for me to really know what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. I just want some time and some pliers, but I'm probably not gonna get that time for a while, sadly, because I don't even know if I have the pliers that I need. Like I don't even know if I have that stuff. So, and again, it's kind of stressful because I'm stranded at the start of a week. My bag breaks, and I don't have an alternative bag. As I explained, the one I would use as an alternative, it's very messy and it's like falling apart. And the other bag I have is broken as well. So yeah, I guess you could mention to me, why do you have a bunch of broken bags? You really should probably have a backup bag. And that is a very good question. It's a very good question, and I'm not going to have an answer to that question. So, but yeah, I guess it's nice though. It is an interesting feeling to know that I did everything I could to optimize. But at the same time, now it's real. I mean, there's no other excuse. I have to really focus on my craft, which is the thing that I've never wanted to actually do. For some reason, I always get so interested and love the setup, the planning, the calculating, the figuring out what I need to do. And the action has never been something I've been very good at, which I'm a broken record. I'm beating a dead horse, but the execution of even doing these recordings as often as I have has been a very big deal for me. It has been it's been a great thing. It's been this thing where I've actually taken a plunge into something. I thought of an idea and I actually did it. And usually I would do that, but it would be very short lived. I think I was trying to do things that wasn't my actual passion. Making music could definitely be something I do, but I don't know that that was ever my core passion. I think my core passion was always talking. I guess I didn't believe it, and I didn't really have anybody who ever told me that or validated that, and I didn't know myself. So here we are. It's a tricky situation, to say the least, in terms of how we figure things out, how we got here, all that stuff. I just caught wind the time's going to change. So that's not really any good because it always works like that. You're finally in a good sleep routine, and then you get that hour snatched away from you. It's pretty frustrating, but not sure what can be done about it. So I have to be a little more aggressive tonight about getting to sleep. Sometimes I'm not. That's why I really don't have any time to be fiddling with settings, sadly, which I guess, yeah, it means that there's not really any point. I guess it's the positioning of the mic, because I may end up having to make it further away from my face. I just wish I didn't need to do that, because it feels more secure being more pressed against my face. And I know from a background noise point of view, you would want it closer to your mouth, and therefore you are going to be louder because it's going to be closer in proximity to the sound source, and then inevitably you won't have to have the input as high, and it will be able to tune out and reject background noise, which is very good for a noisy environment. But the problem is, I don't really think it sounds as good. It sounds a little bit unnatural. So it's just something to keep in mind in general. It's just something I'd be trying to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, everything, I don't know, from the looks of it, it seems good. I thought I was going to need to lower my input a ton, but if anything, I'm kind of worried it's not high enough, because I mean, it did go to yellow a couple times, but I feel like I'd have to be changing it on the fly a little bit. Like during the bouts when I'm talking quieter like this, it probably could be a notch higher. But then when I say something loud, then now, it's fine. So I guess you have to strike a middle. I think the problem is that some of the effects may not work properly if I don't speak in a consistent volume level. So that's another thing I have to work on, that I don't really think I've been practicing. A lot of these minor tweaks. Now that I have the equipment, it's time for me to upgrade myself. It's time for me to cut out the filler words, cut out a bunch of stuff. That's just what it's time for. Overall, too, taking up and putting down, setting this up and taking it down does add a few extra minutes of labor to my day, and it's somewhat complex labor because you're dealing with multiple cables and things like that. The other one was super fast, easy, and simple, although we already outlined how that was a pro and con that I was just willing and wanting to take for whatever reason. That's what I wanted to do. And so I guess it is what it is, and it goes how it goes. But I'm trying to stop myself from saying that too, because I just don't like it is what it is. But in some ways, I'm actually trying to be a little bit more okay with just finding my inner peace. Because a lot of humans, they think that way, that, well, if you can't do anything about it, don't worry about it. And truthfully, we've talked about this before, that it's kind of a terrible mindset, and that most of the time good things happen when groups of people are aware of things and doing things. And pretty much anything is possible in a group. I just think humans misinterpret everything through individual. They see everything as that. They see it as an individual. They interpret life and they see life as a bunch of separate individual people, and that's just not the case. The case is that when we're impressive is when we're doing things together. When we're by ourselves, we don't really do anything impressive, and it's usually just an inefficient waste of time, even if it feels good. And then, of course, this is going back to my original statements I would make. Of course, the things that feel good. Or no, sorry, the things that you do alone when they feel productive or they are productive, it's because you're doing a task by yourself that leads to a social interaction in the future. It's not because what you're doing in the moment feels good. You're going to forget about that. But you're only going to remember something if then it ends up coming up with somebody else. And then a lot of times that doesn't even happen now because of TikTok. Obviously, everybody's got a different feed, so it's hard to make a lot of conversation. And it's different now too. Now that I'm switching to this, we're switching back to not cutting early. We're actually just cutting late because I'm not even able to do the transcription anymore. Sadly, I wanted to try to do that, but I think what we're going to do is just import the ones that we actually want to hear back, and then I guess the ones I don't, that's just going to be it. I guess it's kind of a shame. I wish that there, I just couldn't find a good transcription app that I really liked for this phone. So on Android, it's probably there, but I just, I was kind of in a rush to get all this stuff set up. So it that's just how it turned out. Anyways, it's been schla, and now it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.